Hey there. Well, definitely it's getting colder outside. So if the heater kicks on, then it kicks on. Just some thoughts. I'm going to try to stay off the political scene and get back to more of a spiritual, just a pep talk, observation. With everything so chaotic on the news and with everything going on with the season and knowing Christmas is coming up and Halloween's coming up and winter's coming up, I thought I'd kind of just roll into this. But one of the things that keeps coming to my mind is life isn't as hard as we make it out to be. We've made it hard. Humans have made it hard. Problems can be solved if we put our minds to it, even complicated ones. We've got the ingenuity and the know-how, and yet for some reason we always get yanked around issues and problems that invoke passions and desires and that could be on just a human personal level all the way to civil issues. But we make it out way harder than it is because we seem to want to get out that anger, that sadness, or that emotion that we roll with, and then we lose track of the fact that we have the problem-solving ability right in front of us. With all the hundreds of people that we've personally elected in our government, I still shake my head because issues like the abortion issue, if 2 or 3 or 6 or 10 of them got together and set out to pound out the issue with a framework, it can be done. It can be done. And that's with or without Roe versus Wade, in or out. We've got the science behind it. We can turn around and at least set a framework down. And yet they don't. They would much more rather spend the time BSing about it to get a soundbite for some social media, for some news agency or something like that. And we really can't blame, while I'm saying something about the media, we can't blame it all on that. That's where we get our source. You can't blame it on any national news when their framework themselves that they have to deal with is based on ratings. And you're talking about your national news, which is where everyone just kind of looks for the quick stories and boom, they're out of there. It's that fast. They don't have time to completely change the dynamics within a half an hour or an hour-long broadcast. You can put more blame on cable news because they spend a lot longer talking about these things. But if you've got news agencies that are going to slant it totally, then yeah, you are going to have politicians or people that have the power or the money or the moment, the 15 minutes of fame, to turn around and use that platform, which doesn't help the mindset of a nation, of the world, when they turn around and slant to such a degree that it becomes misinformation. We make life hard. Life isn't as complex if you focus your mind on problem solving. And some people don't have that skill set. But some people are smart enough, and then for some reason, they get into politics, and they do good as far as trying to pound out things. But the game playing starts happening. And when that game playing starts happening, that's when all goes out the door. Like I've mentioned on the abortion issue, pound out a framework. Something that the doctors can go with. Something that the states can grab onto. It should have been done from the beginning rather than sit for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. 40 years, Roe versus Wade. We've got the technology. We can pound out a framework. And if you need to tweak it here and there down the road, then fine. But for God's sakes, do it. We're going to slowly, but it's going to come up fast, run into a problem. And that problem is a huge population on a small rock. And that huge population is going to make everything a lot more muddier if we don't brighten our senses and come around to the fact that we need to solve rather than to bitch and moan. That we need to sit down and discuss rather than bringing up the general topic and going, we can't talk about that. It's really hard for me to watch because, and I know it's hard for many people to sit and watch because there's a lot of people with a lot of good ideas. And for some reason, they don't sit and have a platform like those that do and use that light, that 15 minutes of fame or whatever. They don't use their time wisely enough to actually come up with the solution framework. This principle can apply in many areas around the world. If I lived in a different country, I'm sure I could apply it to their problems that they have. There was a prime minister or a leader of some country that managed to talk to the United Nations, I think it was, and brought up a very good concept in saying, in talking about the Middle East and telling them, we've come to this table many, 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 many times over many, 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 many years. And we always have to focus in on you guys. While there's other problems in the world, and my thinking while I was listening to this was, there's precious ground all around this world that other people live on. And for us to always focus in on the same one and the problem never gets solved becomes tiresome. And at some point, you turn around like two rotten kids or two siblings or whatever, and you got to let them go out the backyard and say, tell you what, when you guys finally come to an understanding, you can come back into the house. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's storming outside. At some point, we've got to get it straight to fix problems and not bitch about them. To learn forgiveness and not hatred, or not hold grudges. We do it on an individual level all the time, and we fall into our old nature sometimes. But the reality is, those that have met that burden head on and kind of stuck with it, normally come out with a better understanding of what brought them there, of how to avoid the situation, how to solve a problem. This is what we should be teaching our kids. This is what we should be teaching each other. The old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. If it takes a village, where is that village on some of these issues? Right now we're hearing a lot from people that are just in very high-powered, high-paying money, grabbing money, hoarding positions, and they're not doing what they should be doing. And when you solve a problem, or when you come to a recognition and you're pounding it out, you don't beat your chest over it and say, well, this side or that side, because you're still bringing out that ugly head of being self-centered, first of all, and then dividing. These are just thoughts that I had, and I wanted to throw them out there. We do have to learn to love more. And I'm not talking about on a sexual nature. That's a whole nother story too. We've glorified and we've magnified those desires and those passions that they have created their own monster. simply because it's in our nature. We're human. But love starts in the heart. Love starts with forgiving. Love starts with giving. And that's where it needs to get back to have that compassion flourish, to have the passion to fix problems flower. That's what I wanted to say. And as always, I wish you nothing but love. And in Jesus' name, or whoever your God may be in your faith, nothing but love. I wish you nothing but love.